triggers. What is a trigger basically? An Apex trigger is a code block which gets triggered on a DML operation. Okay. So when you are trying to save some record or when you are trying to delete some record, at that time you can execute a code. Okay. For an example, if there is someone who is taking an order for your company, and while taking the order you just want to do a quick check and figure out whether your production capacity is there to deliver the order on a given date or not. In that case you need a trigger so that it goes into the back end, automatically checks whether the amount of the or the quantity of the order which is being taken that can be delivered or not on a particular time frame whatever is being given, right? So that is the trigger thing. Okay, so trigger is code which is executed on an event. So these events are primarily the DML operations. Okay, DML events. These are mainly DML events. Okay, so that is it. So far we have triggered the code on click of a button or on the load of the page. But now if I want some code to get executed when the record is getting saved or it's getting deleted or it's getting undeleted, any DML event, we'll need help of Apex triggers. Okay. So it's pretty simple. There is a simple syntax for writing the trigger. You just have to create a trigger, and inside trigger you will write like this. This is the syntax. You will write trigger put trigger name on, put the object name, and put events here. And then you can write a code here. And then we can write our code here. Okay, so it is like trigger and then the trigger name on the object name, write down the events here and write what code you want to get executed. So this becomes our trigger. Okay, now before we start writing trigger, I'll show you some examples. Before that, let us understand a few things, right? First, what all events are allowed and how the events are written. So there are primarily 7 events that we are going to deal with. Before insert, this is an event which if I define this event, the code will get executed before a new record is inserted into the system. And new record gets executed, entered into the system on this object. We have defined the object name, right? So for this object. After insert, before update, after update, before delete, after delete, after undelete. Okay. Before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, after delete, after delete. So these are the triggers, trigger events that we have. Alright. So you can execute your code on any of these events. Now, before I start writing the trigger, there is one more thing that I want you to understand. There are two methods, trigger.new and trigger.old. So trigger.new is primarily a method which returns the record in context. Okay. In insert operation, in insert event. And trigger.old is a method which returns okay. So this is what a trigger.new and a trigger.old are. Trigger.new basically returns the record in context in the insert event. So if a record is being inserted, try to understand. If a record is being inserted, if you are dealing with an insert event, okay, so the record which is getting inserted, that will be returned using trigger.new. Got it? So if you say account A, let's say I'm writing a trigger on account, and I say account A equals trigger.new. This means A will be the record. A is the record which is getting inserted. Okay. So at an insert event, trigger.new can be used for returning the value of the current record which is being inserted. Alright. So that you don't have to write a long query to fetch the value of that record, you can easily use trigger.new. Because whatever logic you have to you'll have to put on that current record only, right? So to refer to that record, you will use trigger.new. Trigger.new returns the value of the current record, the one that is in context. Same way, trigger.old refers to let's say contact. Let's say I'm running a trigger on contact. So trigger.old refers to the record which is getting deleted. In case there is a delete event which is happening, then you can quickly retrieve the value of the record which is getting deleted using trigger.old method. Got it? So that is the logic. Now let's just get into a small logic. Okay, a small thing that you need to know. Trigger.new returns a list. It always returns a list. And the same goes with trigger.old. It does not return a single record. So you might get error if you write it like this. Okay, it should always be mapped to a list of accounts. Got it? This will not return a single record, it will always return a list. Okay. Now you will say, why would it return a list if I am dealing with single record? it returns list. The return type is list. You can then return a single record also, but why they have programmed it in such a way that it returns a list? Because it's not always that you will be inserting one record at a time, right? Sometimes you try to insert multiple records, backend upload and all that stuff, right? In that case, the trigger.new concept should not fail. For that reason, this trigger.new always returns list. Got that? Okay. So now we have got this thing. Now let us start talking about trigger.new, trigger.old is done. Now let's design a small trigger. Okay. Simple logic we will take. Create a trigger on opportunity that throws error if amount is less than 5,000. Simple kind of a trigger I want to create. So I want my trigger to go and check if the amount of the opportunity is 5,000, it should throw error. Less than 5,000, it should throw error. Right? Simple trigger we are going to create. Now let's go ahead and create a trigger and see how it's created. Hey, Venkat, can you give me the login ID again? Thank you. Alright, so we'll start creating a trigger. I think you guys can see my screen. So because I want to create a trigger on opportunity, I have to go to setup. Here you don't need to create a class. You can create a class, but it's not required. You can directly go and write the code in a trigger. So to create the trigger, you have to go to setup, customize, opportunity. Under opportunities, you will see triggers. Okay, so whichever object you want to create the trigger on, you should go to that object either through setup customize or through setup create objects. If it's a custom object, then you should go to setup create objects and then select that object. If it's a standard object, then you should just go to setup, customize, opportunity, whichever object, select that one, and just go ahead and click on the triggers. Alright, now go ahead and click on new. So see, basic syntax is already written there. You just have to give the name of the trigger. Let's say op trigger 1. Whatever name you want to give to the trigger, give it a name. On opportunity, so this is a trigger on opportunity object, that is by default because we went through opportunity triggers. Events we have to write. Okay. Now what is my logic? Create a trigger on opportunity that throws an error if the amount is less than 5,000. Okay. So the error should be thrown before the record is inserted or after the record is inserted. Which event do you think should be used here? When should my code get executed? When should the check happen? Out of these 7 events which we have listed, which event do you think we should be using now?
Before insert.
Right. Before the record gets inserted, we should check that thing. Fine, done. So simple, very simple it is. You just have to put the syntax trigger name on object name and write the event, and here you write the code. Okay. So just before we start writing the code, do you think we need another event where it should be checked? Along with this, you can put multiple events here. So before insert is correct. Do you think any other event will also be required?
Maybe before update.
Right, before update. So that when someone is updating the record, that time also it should check whether it's less than 5,000 or not, right? That's it. So I want my trigger to get executed before insert and before update, and now let's start writing the trigger. So I say for count okay. So though this is gonna, as I told you, this can be a list. This will basically return list of records. So that for that reason I'm running a for loop here, just to make sure that it goes and checks each record one by one. It's simple logic, right? For account A in trigger.new, so account A being the current record in context, we just want to go and check if A dot amount greater than, sorry, not greater than, less than 5,000, then A dot add error. Amount cannot be less than 5,000. For loop needs to be closed. Yeah. Oh, sorry, not account. This is opportunity. Huh? Okay, correct. Now it's there. Got it? So my trigger, small trigger, which I have written, which will be checked before a new record is inserted or a current record is being edited, and it will throw error. So let's go and see if it actually throws error or not. Okay, let me go to the opportunities. Let me try to create a new opportunity. Okay, 34, amount is 3000. Okay, now when I try to save this opportunity, it throws error. It says amount cannot be less than 5000, which is the trigger that I have put. Got it? So before the record is inserted, it goes and checks the current record, finds if the amount is less than 5000 or not, and throws error. Simple. Alright. Now it's about, up to you how you want to write your code, but that is it. That is how simple it is. You just write the event and you just write what code you want to be executed. That's it. Nothing else that you have to do. Alright. Okay. Okay, so this part is done. Now the other thing that we are gonna do is one more trigger, and there are a few more methods which I'm gonna discuss now. Trigger.new, trigger.old concept is clear. Now there are a few more methods. These are trigger.isInsert. Okay, this is a method. This returns true if it is an insert trigger. Okay, same way you have trigger.isUpdate. So these methods will return true or false. If it's an insert trigger, this will return true. If it's an update trigger, this will return true, right? Trigger.is delete. Then we have trigger.is undelete. Then we have trigger.is before. We have trigger.is after. Alright. So we have all these trigger events. Trigger.is insert, is update, is delete, undelete, is before, is after, right? And they return true if this part is true. If it's an update trigger, it will return true. If it's a delete trigger, it will return true, right? Okay. Why do we use these things, or why do we need these things? Sometimes you want to perform the action, the code to get executed based on the event. If it's an insert, then you want to perform some other action. If it's an update, then you want to perform something else. Sometimes that happens, right? So basically, for this example, for the same opportunity trigger, let's say I want to put a logic that if a new record is getting created, now my business wants has given me a different logic. They say if a new record is created, if a new record is created, yeah, in that case amount should not be less than 5k. Okay, but if an existing record is being updated, then amount should not be less than 3000. Okay, sometimes it may happen that your company wants to put different logics for a new record and for an existing record. Happens, right? So in that case you can put two logics to work here. One criteria for new records, the other criteria for existing records. So for existing record, it will always be an update operation, right? So you can check if it's a trigger.update, you can perform something, some other action, and if it's a trigger.insert, then you can perform some other action. Got it? So let's make changes in the same logic that we have put. I'm saying if a new record is created, amount should not be less than 5000, and if an existing record is being updated, then the amount should not be less than 3000. So both the logics need to be checked. Okay, fine. So far it's fine, the same trigger. The only thing that we have to change here is in the if logic we also have to check if it's a trigger dot is insert. Okay, okay. So if it's a trigger dot is insert, which means if it's an insert trigger and amount is less than 5000, throw error. Okay. Else if trigger dot is update and a dot mount is less than 3000, then a dot add error. Got it? So this is how I can use these things, trigger dot is insert and trigger dot is update. So it will check if it's an insert trigger, then it will go and check if the amount is less than 5000 or not, and then throw error. If that's not the case, then it will check if it's a trigger dot is update and the amount is 3000 or not. Got it? Now if you write a new record with 6,000 should get added. Below 5,000 will not be allowed for new record being inserted. Now I'm entering 4,000. This will not be allowed. Okay. I try to insert 6,000. That should be allowed. Alright. Now if I try to edit this record and make it 4,000, now this time an update operation is working there. So 4,000 got saved. Why? Because for the update limit is 3,000, right? So the moment you try to make it below 3,000, then it should throw error, 2,800. The amount cannot be less than 5k for an existing. Okay, it should be 3k. In the error I should have written 3k. Message should be 3k. That's it. Got it? Is it simple? Easy to understand? Any difficulty in understanding this? Okay. So this is how you will create triggers. So let us do one more example. Let's say as an example, when you create an opportunity, parallel to the opportunity, you also want to create a contact in the system. Okay. So when an opportunity is created, after the opportunity gets created, you want to create a contact in the system, okay, with a name, let's say opportunity owner. All right. So let's write code for that. Okay, the triggers are also to be kept active, then only they will work. I am currently deactivating this trigger because I'm going to create another one, but you always have to make sure before your trigger can work, it has to be active. Okay, triggers always have to be active, right? Like our validation rules, workflow rules, they need to be activated. Approval process needs to be activated. Triggers also should be active. Till the time it's not active, it will not work. Okay, so let me close this and let me write another trigger. On opportunities, triggers, new. Okay, so first one I've made it inactive. I'm writing another trigger here. This time, after the opportunity is created, I want to create one contact record also, right? That error message was a simple example. This can be a little complex. So I just say op trigger to this will work after the opportunity has been inserted. I want to create a contact also. So for opportunity O, trigger dot new define a contact C equals new contact okay. Say C dot account ID equals O dot account ID C dot first name equals opportunity opportunity C dot last name equals owner insert C. Okay. So I've written a simple logic. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to create a contact anytime an opportunity is created. Sometimes it happens, right? Sometimes you may have that connected logic that every time someone goes and creates an opportunity, automatically a contact should be created. Something like that, right? So that kind of a logic I'm trying to put here. I'm trying to do insert another account based on my logic. So what we are going to do here, I just go and say define another S object contact, okay, which will be inserted. Then I say for opportunity O C dot account ID means I want to create the contact under the same account, right? If the opportunity is being created for IBM, contact should also get created under that account IBM, right? So that is what I'm doing here. So I say C dot account IDs, the account of the C should be equal to the account of opportunity, okay. Then I give a first name and last name to the contact and I simply say insert C. Now this is capable of going and inserting a record. This is an active trigger. So let me go and create a new opportunity. Put an account. Why I have to put an account? So that we can check whether the contact is getting created under that account or not. Amount can be 40,000. Okay. So after insert, the contact should have got created. Let's go and check. So contact should have got created under Burlington Textiles, which is the account. So let me select the account. See, there is a contact called opportunity owner which got created. Correct. This way you could have, put your own logic, whatever logic you have, but this is how it works. Got that thing? Let me know if there is a issue understanding this simple logic. So this way you can write whatever you want using this Apex code. So you are just defining the event and then you can write your Apex code, whatever you can do, whatever is possible using Apex. You can write everything here.
So here Jeet, contact, here you written like contact C is new contact. So here something is like, is it like a class and an object, the relationship, like contact is a class, C is an object, or what is exactly is contact here? I got to know the concept. So
This
like
object data type.
S objects. Okay, okay, data type. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Like I say opportunity O, the same way I say contact C, so that it understands that C is, C is an S object of contact.
Contact. Okay.
Right. Any other questions? So go back, practice on this. Try to write small codes in this triggers. Okay. And tomorrow when we meet, we are going to talk about a few more ways of calling Apex. So the way we have called Apex through trigger, we are going to talk about a few more ways of calling Apex, and we are going to do one more example on trigger. Fine. So in the meanwhile, just go back, practice, and we'll meet tomorrow, same time, same link. Alright. Thank you all. Thanks a lot. Bye. See you all tomorrow.